HeroesHearth, it's their second favorite, right? After Tomb or Back and Forth, these are their two favorite battlegrounds. For Crowan, watching that reminded me of a certain other player who had to go through the same exact thing. And a lot of players have to do that. But look at Fury. The same thing happened with Fury. While Crowan was still on the team, parted ways with Gale Force, formed Tempo Storm. And I'm going to guess that that kind of revenge is probably very nice, the same, to be able to form that team that eventually became Tempo Storm. It was Murloc Genius as a start, and then Astro, and then eventually Tempo. And now we see him back here with Gale Force Esports. So these players, they all know each other. Even when these kinds of things happen, there's not bad blood there. There's a lot of respect and a lot of understanding.
A lot of respect in the Hanzo as well, going against Crowan. So Hanzo banned out. Gale Force is, you and I have talked about throughout the weekend, Gale Force is one of the teams that hasn't had that high priority towards Hanzo going.
Yeah, they've had a lot more of the gray main for Michael Udall, but we're starting to see that change up a little bit too, as we've seen more of the Jaina come in. But yeah, no Hanzo at all. A lot of Malthael, Tyrael priority for them. Lucio, and then Greyman and Genji if they can get it, but there's the Tyrael for Gale Force. And with the Shimada's banned, you think we're going to get another gray main here for Crowan?
I'd say it's highly likely. It would be really hard pressed to find something beyond that. They do have Tyrael available to them, so if they're willing to commit to an early Tyrael, will be something I'm curious about. When it comes to Volskaya, or not Tyrael, Uther, excuse me, Uther. They both have yellow abilities, I don't know. But either way, having an early Uther, the problem with the Uther that we could potentially see is Volskaya. The sustain when it comes to the control points is that you have to have somebody with a health pool that you can rely on. Uther isn't necessarily there, even though he does complement Greymane, so it's like a double-edged sword that you have to potentially deal with.
Especially with a team that plays as much Malthael as Gale Force Esports, trying to keep up with the supporting of that many people. If you get a lot of people who get hit by that, okay, so then we'll turn the tables a little bit. ETC and Malthael for McIntyre, focusing on these other two players here.
They took away the first two picks that Gale Force went with last game. They're going to try and make use out of it and replicate some success themselves. Tyrael picked up Greymane, and we get a Michael Udall Falstad join in, although could be an outside shot. They could split that up, but Michael Udall so renowned on the Falstad. Gotta imagine that's a thing, a big priority for them.
I sort of wondered if we would see Gale Force just flip it and reverse it and get Greymane and Lucio like HeroesHearth did in the last game. Lucio has been a high priority, high value target for Akaface, and here that might be something that HeroesHearth takes advantage of. We've seen BBJ playing a little bit more Lucio. Maybe they'll go back now into an Uther here if they want to have that, the Divine Shield for Malthael, maybe for a Cleanse Mosh or Divine Mosh, and then ban out the Lucio here.
It's a great point. Now that the damage has been picked up by Gale Force, Uther is a lot more appealing. You know that you don't have to deal with the potential AoE style when it comes to Greymane and Falstad. So you can potentially go into the Uther. I don't know if Gale Force will be willing to let it through, because Uther, for BBJ, that's been his most played hero by far. So we'll see. Lucio banned out. Maybe they'll make a play around the supports, end up with a Malfurion. But if you're Gale Force,
you're going to ban Junkrat.
Instantly ban that Junkrat. No Arthalon Junkrat.
He's been playing a fair amount of it, and especially on this map, so that makes sense. He puts a lot of mayhem in, and if you're a team who is expecting the front line to be front line, the back line to be back line, and that's how it's going to be in a team fight, Junkrat has a way of making that not the case.
Yeah, he can definitely change that up just a bit. So HeroesHearth, they have the Greymane the Greymane on the other side. So now you have to look at other options for Crowan. So Vala has not been here, right? Vala has barely been played since the double support nerfs. That kind of was his old school hero. Then we look at Crowan now. Genji, Greymane, Hanzo have been there. Tychus and Cassia are the next to come into mind, but they've been rarely played. His Cassia is pretty outstanding. He just doesn't play it a lot because there's other heroes that he can tend to thrive on. So we'll see if that does come into play here in this part of the draft.
Yeah, blinds would work really well to help out versus a Greymane. Maybe push Falstad into more of a Gathering Storm. But we're going to hold on to that pick. Uther Tassadar. Fast Zarya. Oh, the return.
Wow.
The return of the Akaface Morales. And they picked those so fast. Now you've got a minute to try to figure out how to make that work. They don't need it. They got Cassia. That went really fast.
The Cassia with the Tassadar makes a lot of sense. So they go into that. But the Zarya Morales. This is our first Zarya in North America. And Lieutenant Morales, I think, might be our first ever in HGC, North America, Europe, or Korea.
It's a Arcaface classic,
Yeah.
an old favorite. So when we're looking at this, my immediate thought is Volskaya tends to go to the longer game. But Gale Esports has now a Morales who has that infinite heals as long as you're good at playing around the energy. And you've got the Zarya and Tyrael shielding to try to go for an early push with your Greymane, try to get some early structure done. You give him the heat, you make him feel the heat.
Consider this.
I feel like it's Warhead Junction all over again.
The fort. Yeah, when you said warhead, I'm saying fort, and I almost got forehead. The fort hit. The fort.
Forehead Junction. Let's go to the game as we talk about this. Forehead Junction. It's Sunday, everybody.
The forts do damage. Their attack speed remains the same. Zarya's energy is based on how much damage she absorbs. We could potentially see some of these early ones. Now, one of the problems you used to have is you had the side tower plus the main structure, whether the fort or the keep, and that really caused problems. Now you have one shield for you, one shield for an ally, plus a potential safeguard. Now all of a sudden it looks a little bit more appealing to dive onto these. You have the Greymane. Then, oh by the way, at level 10, you've got a medevac. Backdooring things all of a sudden sounds a lot more appealing with some of these gameplay changes. Tyrael, Sanctification, Falstad, this is kind of juice pirate, Skilly.
It is. I don't know if we'll see the medevac. I think Stim Drone is also very likely, especially the build that we're seeing. It's auto attack focused build for Greymane, and I expect that to continue. Whether we get Quicksilver Bullets, I believe it should be Quicksilver Bullets. I don't think we'll get something like Wizened Duelist at 7, but even still, it's way more of an auto attack focus for you to get that consistent damage in and make sure with this viciousness that you continually have Inner Beast up. Now, Crowan has that the Cassia. Blinds are going to help a lot with this, and you've got the shielding from Tassadar to try to give a little bit of extra health to these structures. But HeroesHearth are on the defense always versus this composition that can siege down structures very quickly.
But seriously, what if we just medevac the... You don't, like, you're like, all right, the Protector. All right, look, we can forgo the Protector. If we trade out a fort for a fort and you got the Protector and you don't come back, we win that trade. And then beyond that, we'll medevac again and we'll take your keep. You've got the Gust. You've got all the elements with the Tyrael, the Falstad. Falstad continues with that global soak, especially post 7.
Yeah.
He can double lane soak with the boomerang.
You've got Sanctification when you're on the structure. You got Expulsion Zone to push them away. But I'm just saying, like, if you have 75% increased attack speed, plus the 25% that you get from Swift Retribution from the Tyrael, you've got your Seasoned Marksman, and you've got the attack speed from Inner Beast, you're going to just destroy everything.
Okay, but let's take this another step further, and then this will be my last point.
Okay.
By the time the second control point comes in, it is right around level 10-ish. It'll be level 10 contested. The bot lane is the furthest away. So if you can get through this bottom lane in any regards, that's your control area.
Yeah, it used to be Sky Temple where you'd see the Juice Pirates. Maybe it's Volskaya Foundry where we're going to bring it back, resurface the strategy. Whatever the case is, whatever the heroic for Morales, HeroesHearth is holding this very, very well, responding appropriately. It's Falstad and Malthael who are going back and forth. Insatiable, that's not what I was expecting there at level 4.
Selling me more on that backdoor, Gilly. Every talent pick I see, it's selling me more and more on it. Also, let's look a little bit further. Zarya's level 4, getting physical armor. Now that just goes because you're playing against Cassia.
I was going to say, how are you going to sell this one?
But you could also be taking damage from said fort and or keep.
Okay, all right. That's a bit of a stretch, but I'll allow it. We got 5 versus 5. Control point unlocking in 10 seconds. Even Cellular Reactor for Morales, try to keep her living. If it is the case, I mean, no matter what the case is, keeping Morales healthy is integral to this. And you've got 2 frontliners, right? You've got the B-Kid and the Fury, but there's not a lot of peel there if Morales gets dove upon. So for them and having that Cellular Reactor to help should be nice. Here comes Ishbu, though.
It's pretty amazing. Crowan just sits in there. Cassia, her trait allows her. mitigates auto attack damage when you're moving. And his stutter stepping in there was top notch because he got dope upon by a Zarya with a little bit of energy. A Greymane that came in trying to get some auto attacks in, and his health bar barely moved. Got the supporting from BBJ and then turns the fight on them. This is some pretty stellar play that we're seeing back and forth between these teams.
Yeah, B-Kid's been doing a great job keeping that energy up so that he can pack a punch, both with the particle grenades, but also feel the heat at 1. 7 almost here for both of the teams as HeroesHearth gets on the control point to start. 60% continuing to climb before the contesting comes in from Fury and that Tyrael.
I think if they really wanted to try and open up that bottom lane, Gilly, then they needed to get a camp in the top lane to force a rotation out, force some type of response, and then move their way down. If their plan is to backdoor going forward, they are very far behind in their plan.
Yes. You got to get to 10, and ideally, you have to have the fort down. That was the deal with Sky Temple. That's why Sky Temple was the map, is you just prioritize getting one of the 2 temples in that first phase, and you get it. And they're going to go straight back to the fort. This allows the Protector to push for free. Falstad pushing to get them experience. HeroesHearth just keeps one person only within that Protector. They have Malthael to go back and forth to counter the Falstad, and they're defending with the 3 who are here, though. BBJ can't go down, gets the Hammer of Justice, he falls.
He falls, and that's a moment of opportunity now for Gale Force. There's no supporting, so now they can put it on. Crowan goes in, trying to get a little bit of Finn damage. Getting down the wall is a big part of at least advancing this potential strategy coming out. Again, the way that they're playing this, Gilly, it's got to be it, right?
It feels like it. It does. They're all in on taking down structures to open up for that. We've even got the to the limit for the extra basic attack. It's all basic attacks all the time between Zarya, the Seasoned Marksman Falstad, and what is the Quicksilver Bullets now with the Greymane build. Lots and lots of sustained damage. Crowan deep in the lines as he uses the Surge of Light. Going forward with the Fend now, pushes back HeroesHearth Esports yet again. And someone dropped a spray.
Yeah, why not? You know, you're just on your way out. Just cool guys don't look at explosions type deal. Walk away, spray, same thing.
I like the Touch of Death pickup there for McIntyre, given that it is... You've got the shielding of Zarya, definitely, but if you're reliant on the Morales to get that big beam in to heal you back up, it's going to make that more difficult now with the Touch of Death. Stage dive for ETC allows him to keep up, yes, with the globals, and if the backdoor is going to come in, we're just about to find out what the strategy is for Gale Force moving forward as 10s hit.
I honestly think they'll wait to pick up their heroics until that control point spawns, and then show top and then try and make that backdoor attempt. Again, getting a fort down is easy mode at this point. It is medevac. There's no doubt about it.
They've got the Gust 2. That buys time. Sanctification, that buys time. When you are looking at the Juice Pirates getting the fort down, you fly in, you take out the keep, you can die. You can die for it. We've got the stage dive in. Expulsion Zone went onto the gate. The fight's going to break out as Tassadar shifts back to safety.
Yeah, they thought Crowan might be trying to escape by the gate. That's why you saw B-Kid position himself the way they did. Instead, the stage dive came in and Crowan turned his attention the other direction. So, not quite baiting him out just well enough, but needless to say, still waiting for this to fully unfold.
Now, if we're team fighting, we're looking at team fights. We talked about how there's an ETC, there's a Malthael. There is some diving to scare a Morales who doesn't have a lot of peel other than now that you've got the Expulsion Zone, the Gust. But those are heroic abilities. You're relying on Tyrael. He'll have Holy Ground at 13. The medevac also can be used to get to safety should it be team fights, but I like that regardless, HeroesHearth are willing to get aggressive. They bring the fight back to Gale Force, and this keeps Gale Force from being able to execute on that potential backdoor.
Well, control point unlocks in 25 seconds. See how many people make their way up. Those turrets.
Looks like everybody, because there's a medevac.
Well, maybe they'll just be like, look, we're tired of trying to fight the bot lane, but I don't know if that was ideal positioning.
McIntyre, Tormented Souls, stage dive in the back as the Sanctification buys time for the Tormented Souls to expire. Big Impact went in after him. A Gust pushes back as that was a great quick draw power slide on top of Big Impact to save McIntyre. And with everything but go for the throw being used there for Gale Force, they'll back off.
They're going to take the entire longest possible route all the way to that bot lane. That will work out well for them as they too continue their assault. The medevac was all for show, as they're going to walk right past. The problem is they're going to pass by the minions.
So too is HeroesHearth though, as they rotate back down.
Yeah.
And ETC doesn't have stage dive. All right, they're on the fort. We're going to bring it down fast with all those auto attacks. They have expulsion zone that keeps everyone off of big impact long enough to take this. They got the safeguard on him too. He is eventually going to go down, but also Lieutenant Morales and B-Kid 3 killed as HeroesHearth Esports keeps ETC on the point. They lose their fort, but they get the 3 kills.
I think it's safe to say they did not make the progress that they had anticipated in the early game, and now just getting a fort down is not really where you want to be. However, now all you have to do, backdoor the keep from here on out, and then eventually hope to back down the core. The problem is generally because, like you said, getting the temples to take it down. That was an early part of it. Then also doing it early enough so the death timers aren't so long. The longer the game goes on, the longer your death timers are as your level gets higher. And that's where the problem lies.
Yeah, there's also this issue of a mid-game protector that's here that's going to be able to siege on a keep at the exact same time. But yes, they are going to group up.
It's right behind the keep.
HeroesHearth
It's
goes
right
back.
behind it.
Here we go. This time we have Sanctification. This time we have Gust. We have Expulsion Zone back up again. That's a low cooldown heroic ability. This should go better. This should be a keep. Here comes the stage dive, the immediate Expulsion Zone, and the Sanctification to buy them more time. Now that's been done. HeroesHearth Esports, if they lose this, they got to try to take out every single person from Gale Force Esports. They still have that protector down there on the keep. They take out 1, 2. The keep is not going down. 3, 4. 4 people die. They'll use that explosion. They also have the shield. Nicely done by Arthalon.
I will say that I think they got a little bit confused when they landed trying to figure out who the target was, because Zarya did not get the energy that you would have anticipated there either. Zarya was a little late to shield, trying to figure out who the target was. Without that energy, Zarya was not able to go through that structure.
PBJ was inside this. HeroesHearth desperately need to take this out, right? This is a threatening type of composition style. That's almost the keep. Enough that with the next one, you take out the keep, you start doing some permanent core damage. So HeroesHearth needed to get this keep, and that also gives them 16. 16 to the 13 of Gale Force Esports, and they're not done, J-How.
They're contemplating
They're maybe
it.
not done.
Gust alone can push you into a keep area, and then an expulsion zone might be able to lock you in there. It's a risk. You already have the keep down. If you're Gale Force, though, that keep needed to go down.
It did.
You can still medevac over, take it down as long as you take only minimal damage, and then turn your focus to the core. But the timing on that, it's going to add an extra 5 or 10 seconds to 1, do the damage, and then 2, move over to the core. That's where the problem lies.
Here's the position.
There's no way.
ETC's going to keep that lane pushing back out, but HeroesHearth are just waiting for it. They hear the sound. The stage dive comes in. HeroesHearth get on the core. They're starting to bring that down, the shielding down. There goes the keep as Gale Force Esports go to the same. It's a base trade, ladies and gentlemen, but Gale Force Esports falling behind as HeroesHearth Esports brings the core of Gale Force down to 40%, continuing to fall. HeroesHearth ties up the series versus the Juice Pirates. And don't ask why it was named that, because I still don't know. It makes a ship on the mini-map, so I think that's where the pirate part comes in. Juice? I don't know. You called it, though. It was brilliant.
Am I proud that I called it? I don't know. Crowan, in 12 minutes, put up 63,000 damage on Cassia. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, having an area blind that much that you capitalize on with Ring of the Leech, that you are able to avoid versus 3 auto attack heroes so that you have Surge of Light, is a very good pick. We should also say that, as I spit, gross, sorry. We should also say that Juice Pirates did not have Cassia in the game when that happened, and that was a pretty darn good choice of pick.
Yeah, HeroesHearth, they recognize that. I'd say that they know a strategy or two. I remember talking to McIntyre the week before last, and he's like, yeah, having Arthalon on our team, he's like, he's got all these ideas, these things that we can run. They're the ones that ran the Asmodean on this during their opening series. So, again, I really want to know if Zarya shields appropriately coming out of the first medevac on the keep, they get the keep. there's no doubt about it. How does that race look differently if they core to core?
Yeah, it was really close. That keep went down pretty fast. The thing was, too, HeroesHearth was brilliant about that last little bit, right? They kept the minions pushed up, and then the minute that they heard the sound, there's a long time before you actually fly. The shields were down before they even got to the core itself.
It's like, what, 4 seconds before you can even take off?
I don't even know if that would have been the difference for that. But even still, it was a great recognition, awesome counter drafting, and Volskaya continues to deliver on the strategies for us here at NA HGC. HeroesHearth has tied the series 1-1 as we're heading into our first break of the series. We will see you after the break for Game 3. Stick with us.